Facilitate and administer neo-colonialism against us. All the black mayors, all the black, governors and council people that only uphold capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy and patriarchy. This is all they do. They are not leaders. And we are...
Hi everyone, my name is Mary and I'm standing here holding this. Hi everyone, my name is Mary. Hamjambo, jina langu naitwa Mary Mbulo. I'm holding a postcard for one of the youngest fallen soldier. And as a mother, I weep for this family. I weep for the mother. I weep for these children. That Kennedy Onyango was shot 8 times. And the president of Kenya, William Ruto, had the audacity to say that he wasn't shot. Can you imagine? Shame on Ruto. Shame on IMF. Shame. Rest in peace, Kennedy Onyango.
Thank you so much. Kennedy Hoye. Kennedy Hoye. You know, like Mary said, shame on Ruto. Shame on all those people who facilitated the deaths of these young soldiers. And anyone who wants to be down with them, shame on them too. So this one, next fallen soldier.
My name is Philip Harris. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm reading the tribute about Rex Masai. Rex Masai, 29 years old, was our firstborn. A very calm child, very peaceful and obedient. The only mistake Rex made was to defend the rights of everyone.
All right, Rex Hoye. Rex Hoye. A lot of you are familiar with Rex because Rex was one of the first image that went out there. He was one of the first fallen. He was the first. I think he was the first one. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he was the first fallen soldier in this struggle. Because remember, this is gonna be a long struggle. It's not gonna go away overnight. So these are just some of the heroes who gave it all up for the sake of a better Kenya. Let's go to the next fallen soldier.
This is a tribute from his family.
All right, Eric Hoye. Eric Hoye. All right, let's go to the next person.
My name is Simon W. Mbogwa, a politician back in Kenya, Nakuru County. And I'm holding a young man here by the name Joseph Getao. Getao, he loved people a lot. He was loved as well at home and at school. He was observed child, and we loved him so much. Come on, what am I doing? Okay, time coming to his demise.
Day with zest. In his short 32 years, he imparted lessons of kindness, joy, and resilience that will resonate for generations. As we mourn his ultimately departure, let us also celebrate the indelible mark he left on our hearts. Chris, until we meet again.
All right, Chris Hoye. Chris Hoye. Okay, let's go to the next person.
Eric Kayoni, 27.
His other name was Malang. Malang was born and raised in Eldoret, Kenya. He was a very social young man who was easily loved by anyone he interacted with. And this created a community that loved and stood by him till his last day. Today, we have lost an incredible soul that has left such a void in our hearts. But we celebrate every single moment he shared with us. May his soul find solace. This is a tribute from his brother.
He was studying at JU CAT, abducted during the protest, found dead later and dumped in a quarry full of water.
Denzel Hoye. Denzel Hoye. Okay, let's go to the next fallen soldier.
Hey, my name is Michael Mkala, Baltimore. So I'm speaking today for Erickson Kialo Mutisia. He was only 25 years old. He was one of the brave young souls that made it to the parliament on June the 25th, and that's when he was shot outside the parliament. He was a happy guy, and even on that day, he had on a white outfit, dancing to the dancing right before he got shot. He was laid to rest last week on the 12th in Machakos County. May he rest in peace.
All right, Eric Hoye. Eric Hoye. All right, let's go to our next fallen soldier.
My name is Brian. Privileged enough to read the tribute of David Chege, written by his brother Brian, Kenyans. David was not just an elder brother to me, he was my hero, my confidant, and my protector. David had the heart of a lion. He never quit and he never gave up. He used to teach me mathematics, and he did it so effortlessly that I ended up falling in love with math. David was God-fearing and served God diligently from 2008. He was in the last stages of acquiring a visa to take on an IT concern. I'll add two more things that are not here. David was 39, twice the age of many people he was protesting with. David was the second person shot. The second body you saw on Parliament, that was David. David had his own company. David was good. David was set.
Yeah.
But he was passionate enough to be there on that very day. David's mom on his burial said, "May Ruto never ever know peace. May Ruto never ever know peace." And we hope and pray that him and the international monsters and frauds never ever know peace.
Mnanisikia? Wakenya mko? Wakenya mko? If you're African and you know it, say IMF must go. IMF must go. Kama wewe ni Mkenya and you know it, say IMF must go. IMF must go. Kama wewe ni Mkenya and you know it, say Ruto must go. Ruto must go. I want to start by respecting or showing my respects to the ones that we lost. The reason I hold this is one of my former classmates. This is one of my former classmates, Chuol Deng. We went to Form 1 and Form 2 together. He was 3 years younger than everyone in the class. He was one of the brightest young men that we knew. And he was recently killed in Eldoret. And I had hoped to see him one day, but as fate would have it, as the IMF is complicit in, as Ruto is complicit in, he's now resting in peace because of their actions. And that's why we say Ruto must go, and that's why we say IMF must go. Okay. Another point, today I come with some sad facts. Because tumejama tuwezi sema fun facts, so tunasema sad facts. Sema sad facts. Sad facts. Sad facts. Haya, no country has ever succeeded by relying on the International Monetary Fund policies or loans. Umesikia yoyote? Nirudie. Haya, no country has ever succeeded relying on IMF loans and policies. So they claim to be an economic development organization that helps economies grow, but there is no single economy that anyone can list, and I challenge anyone to find it, whether it's Argentina or Congo or Ecuador. There is no country that the IMF has taken loans from that has actually benefited the country for the better. And that is a fact, but a sad fact. Another sad fact, since our independence, Kenya has borrowed 22 loans from the IMF. That averages to about 1 every 3 years. So if we are talking in terms of economic development, you can't tell me a country is borrowing 22 times and no development is happening since independence, since the inception of the country, since the independence of the country until now. Almost 60 years has passed, no development has happened. The only thing that has happened is more loans that are getting borrowed. Another thing that people need to understand that we need to bring attention to is the IMF voting power that they have. The way the voting power is determined is by the countries, the member countries' GDP, like trade volume and financial openness. So which means the countries like United States of America, Germany, United Kingdom, France have controlling voting power and therefore influence policies. And if we're talking about colonization, we know France played a big part in it. Sindio, ama nadanganya? We know the United Kingdom played a big part in it. See, they colonized us as well. So how can they be like instituting policies in the IMF that are going to benefit Africa. That is a lie. We are lying to ourselves. And this influence extends to like indebted governments like Kenya, and that's why you see things like the US delegation that was in the parliament while they were discussing the finance bill the other day. That is why you see that. And that is why you see things like Kenya police being sent to Haiti. Can you imagine the DC police being sent to Jamaica actually to help in conflict? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why is the police, not even an army, the police being sent to another country to help out? And it's against the will of Kenya. This is because of Ruto and his incompetent government. Another thing that we need to understand is this is plain and simple, as people have said, it is neo-colonial puppeteering and it is neo-colonial imperialism. This is not, it's not here to benefit Africa, it is here to steal from Africa, if you're being frank. Another way that the IMF institutes their policies is with the structural adjustment programs. Can you say structural adjustment programs? And it's good for you guys to learn this and to talk to your children and to talk to the older generation when you wanajifanya hawezi kuja maandamano. Talk to them as well. They understand this program started from time ya Moi, as some of them know. And it has happened until today. So whether you're young and old, you need to understand these policies and know how bad they are for our country, and you need to make our voices heard all the way to the top of the IMF so they can know that they need to get out of Kenya. And of course this leads to things like the 2024 finance bill that added taxes to cancer treatment and sanitary towels, and it also slows down economic growth. Like Ali was saying, Kenya was starting to be a manufacturing giant around 20 years ago, and that was suppressed by these strict policies that the IMF imposes on Kenya with the structural adjustment programs. So what are possible solutions? If you look at the Asian tigers, say many Asian tigers kwanza. Asian tigers. Shout out to the Asian tigers. These are countries like Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Now, if you look at 1960, we all had roughly around the same GDP. So Wakenya tunakuanga kwa mbio, tunakuanga kwa Olympics. So tumeanza at the starting line, we were all on the same starting line. Now a country like South Korea is GDP is 10 times bigger than Kenya. It's worth 1.6 trillion while we're at around 150 billion. So how did they grow without? And another sad fact, I should say, not a fun fact. Another sad fact is that none of these Asian tigers borrowed from the IMF, with the exception of South Korea, which borrowed once in 1997 and paid it back in 2001. So hapo South Korea wachezi, they're not playing around. They borrowed it and in 4 years they paid it. And that is how, if it must happen, we have to get a loan that it is good for the country and pay it back within 4 years. But with the exception of South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore never borrowed IMF loans, and they all built their country organically all the way until they're now, like Singapore has one of the most powerful passports, and we all know that. And they were the same place with us in 1960, so why can we do it? See, we're Kenyan, we're able. See, we Africans are creative. Yes. Aren't Africans intelligent as well? Yes. So why can't we do the same? That's what we need to push for people to be educated in civil education, in financial education, and they need to get angry as well. We need more people to make their voices heard. We need more people to bring attention to these policies that are crippling Africa. All right, and then I just wanted to say, to me, in my personal opinion, Viva! To me, in my personal opinion, the IMF are loan sharks. They are handing out unreasonable loans and crippling conditions that trap borrowers in a vicious cycle. And in my eyes, that is nothing short of thievery. So, as our Kenya, I need your energy here. Our Kenya, I need your energy here. Wacha niulize swali wa Kenya, mko? Wa Kenya mko? I said that is nothing short of thievery. So, wacha niulize swali. Mwizi akiiba kuku, tunakubali kweli? Na mwizi akiiba shamba tunakubali kweli? Na wezi kama the IMF and William Ruto wakijaribu kuiba taifa letu la Kenya, tutakubali kweli? Haya, that's why I want you guys to follow me with this chart, na nataka tufuatane. Si wote ni you guys all sharp? Mtafuatilia vizuri? There's a couple of steps to it, it's kind of tricky. So twende pole pole. So tunaanza IMF toka IMF toka. IMF toka. Zakayo shuka. Zakayo shuka. Wakenya panda. Wakenya panda. Gen Z viva. Haya tumeshika na tuende skuli hapa. Haya ndio IMF shuka. Nitoka bana. Haya. Are you guys sure mmeshika?
Tumezoea shuka bana.
Watoke. Haya. One more rehearsal. Haya, ni IMF toka. IMF toka. Zakayo shuka. Zakayo shuka. Wakenya panda. Wakenya panda. Gen Z viva. Haya ndio mwisho kumaliza sasa. We have the energy. Haya mko ready? Yes. Mko ready? Yes. Haya. IMF toka. IMF toka. Zakayo shuka. Zakayo shuka. Wakenya panda. Gen Z viva. Haya asanteni.
All right, asante sana, asante. About the person who's on the picture, because these people who died are people who had a storied life that was cut short because of an IMF-inspired finance bill in collusion with President Ruto. So we're gonna get started here. Please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from out here in the US, and read the name of the person you'll be reading about and tell us his story or her story.
My name is Stacy Kintu from Pennsylvania. I have Chris Gitonga. Chris Gitonga, a beacon of joy and humility, was taken from us far too soon, just days before his 33rd birthday. Chris was more than a victim. He was a hero who stood in the face of adversity with quiet strength.
So we are here to express our dissatisfaction in the manner in which the IMF policies are being enacted and implemented in our country. The policies that are being enforced are not seen to be any economic goodwill, but rather a cycle of endless debts that tie down our economy. And we are also here to call the IMF into accountability for the debts that have been caused in our nation because of their role in pushing for the policies in Parliament. And it was clear that the people were practicing these things when adopting them. So we are here to call for accountability. We are here to call the IMF to order enact policies that will help our country's prosperity, or if they can't do that, then the IMF needs to go.
My name is Robert Betts, and I'm here in Washington DC at the second IMF headquarters to let IMF know that they must go. I also want to say this is my former classmate of mine, told there. He was the youngest in the class. I'm 28, he's 25 in California. He was the youngest in our class. We were in Form 1 and Form 2 together, and he recently died in the protest that happened in Kenya. He was recently killed, and that is the result of Ruto and the IMF, and that is why we are here to protest the IMF. Another thing that Kenyans need to know, the IMF has given Kenyans loans, loans up to 22 loans since independence. So that's one every 3 years. And those are not loans to help our economic development. You can't be borrowing 22 loans since independence and think it will come out of economic trouble. Another thing is no country has succeeded under the IMF policies and loans. And I challenge anyone who can prove otherwise to show me which country, what is Argentina, Congo, Senegal, Ivory Coast, which country the IMF has actually helped us develop from a third world to a first world. Another issue is the IMF's voting power. The IMF's voting power is primarily controlled by member countries with the highest GDP and financial openness and trade volume. This means that countries like the United States of America, Germany, United Kingdom, France have a controlling share of voting power in the IMF. So it's not a global organization. It should be the International Monetary Fund. It should be called the Western Controlled Monetary Fund.
My name is Naman Gudlev. I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, representing the Kenyan community in Pennsylvania. I'm here today to protest against the IMF. Particularly, I'm very angry because when all this started, IMF had the audacity to tell Ruto not to listen to the Kenyans, young Kenyans who were protesting on the streets. I'm very angry because Ruto is a servant of the Kenyan people. It's not the other way around. But Ruto has become a puppet. That's why those IMF behind here, they've decided to give us orders. We are very angry, and we're telling the IMF that there is democracy in Kenya. The protesters have a right to go out in the streets and say no. This young man here, alongside all these are young souls that we have lost in the country because they dared go out there and ask government, why are you stealing? Why are you messing our country? This is a question all of us have been asking. I am Gen X, and I'm here to support our Gen Z. And the reason I'm supporting Gen Z is because many years ago, I was at their age, I was at the university, and I remember this same IMF. One time they came up with some sub-program, they decided that we should be paying fees. Some of us didn't have the ability to pay, and we went to the streets. And Moi and his police, just like Ruto and his police, they came out to fight us, and they killed some of us. I still remember one, Shadrach Opio, who was shot and killed, just like these innocent souls. These are our Kenyan patriots, these are our Kenyan heroes. And I pray that one day an incoming government, the incoming government will recognize them for who they are. They are our heroes. We should never forget, and I'm calling on all Kenyans to understand that we are being colonialized again. These heroes are new colonialists. They have an agenda against us. They have an agenda against the third world. They have an agenda against Africa. Kenyans should rise up and say no to IMF. And I'm also asking the incoming government to come up with a very clear strategy of how we're going to get out of the IMF. We don't need them. We should manage the resources better. We should do away with corruption, with wastage, with impunity. It's high time Kenyans say no. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ali Badawi, and we are out here. I'm actually from Washington, the Washington DC area. I've lived out here for more than 20 years. We are out here at the IMF headquarters today because of the IMF-inspired finance bill. There's 53 Kenyans who've died as a result of that. You already know that there were reject finance bill protests in Kenya, and 53 deaths. I don't know whether IMF knows that this might be the first time that their finance bill that they inspired has resulted to the death of 53 people. So what we want IMF to understand is that the loan shark habits they have of colluding with African leaders, specifically William Samoei Ruto, in giving us loans and making them have austerity measures in other important aspects like education, healthcare, and so many other things. It's about time the International Monetary Fund took responsibility of these 53 deaths. This is a picture of a 12-year-old I'm holding right here who was killed in the protest. IMF, this blood is in your hands. And there's 52 others, and there's more coming. There are those who've been abducted and there are those who disappeared. So please understand, these collisions that you have with treasuries in African countries like in Kenya is resulting in people dying and very poor economic conditions. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Ali Badawi. My name is Dr. Luther Mangusi. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, originally from Langata. In fact, I was a parliamentary contestant in the 2022 election in Kenya. I'm here to speak to you about the impact that IMF's structural adjustment programs and policies have not only on the Kenyan economy, but on economies around the world that are heavily indebted. The IMF has gone ahead to implement what are called structural adjustment programs, fully in the knowledge that these adjustment programs can cause civil unrest in Kenya. In fact, in the Kenyan case, in May of 2024, they warned the Kenyan government that the structural adjustment programs through the finance bill would cause civil unrest. What they did not estimate, number one, was how big those protests would be, but also that the Generation Z, who are most affected by these programs and by this bill, would be the ones who would come out to protest. I believe there is an axis between the IMF and corruption in the following ways. Number one, the budget corruption in our finance bill. Our finance bill was passed with provisions to give unconstitutional offices a budget which we do not even know what that money would have been used for. In addition, there are budget items like dark funds where money is allocated to government agencies and we do not know how that is used. In conjunction with the finance bill, we also have the conflict of interest bill, which allowed public officials to actually siphon money out of government once it's been allocated to government. We are here to protest and to make sure that IMF takes responsibility, not just for the finance bill, but for the young people who are killed because of the structural adjustment programs in Kenya.
The IMF! Down with the IMF! Whatever the IMF is doing in Kenya is the same thing that is happening in Haiti. We need to protect our land, we need to protect our resources, we need to make sure that we find out who's benefiting from those interests. We need to target those companies, we need to stop purchasing from these companies. Protect our soil, protect our people, protect Kenya, protect Haiti. Viva Kenya! Viva! Viva Haiti! Viva! See you all tomorrow!
Akiwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na usawi. Amkeni ndugu zetu, tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu. Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda na tujenge taifa letu. Ndio wajibu wetu. Kenya istahili heshima, tuungane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani.
Talk about things like neocolonialism. We want to be clear. and about the evolution and the historical development of these institutions. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, these institutions were described and elucidated to us by our dear Pan-Africanist freedom fighter Kwame Nkrumah. He wrote a book. He wrote a book called Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. We all must read that book.
Absolutely.
In that book, he shows how institutions, these international institutions like the IMF and World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and even U.S. institutions and even their counterparts in Britain and France and all the NATO countries are actually the expressions of what neocolonialism is. They are an adaptation from traditional colonialism to now neocolonialism because they could not withstand our resistance against former colonization. So now they have created what we refer to as compradors, like Ruto, who preside over our countries, and they do not work in our best interests. They only work in the interest of imperialism and neocolonialism. Ruto must go.
Ruto must go.
We also must understand that if we are to create a better world that is free of imperialism and neocolonialism, we must be able to know what to replace Ruto with, and all the Rutos in our African countries and our places around the world. Neocolonialism isn't here in the United States. I'm an African born in the United States. We're colonized. We're not African Americans. We are a colonized population that is oppressed by the settler colonial state, the United States of America, that stole this land and keeps non-white working class people oppressed. They also facilitate and administer neocolonialism against us. All the black mayors, all the black, governors and council people that only uphold capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy and patriarchy. This is all they do. They are not leaders. And we are not free unless we can build a Pan-African movement that overthrows all the forms and vestiges of colonization, white supremacy, capitalism, and patriarchy everywhere in the world. This means, and I'll stop here, but this means that while all the Rutos must go, all of them must go, that we must also at the same time, so they not, because these are some slick IMF. These are some slick IMFs. They are already planning what to do to keep hold of Kenya after Ruto is gone. They already making plans, and they see that Ruto's days are numbered. We have to know, what are we going to do? What kind of system must we replace it with? A system that takes hold of the land, that takes hold of the resources, and deals with the degradation and the disparity and the despair that our people are facing at the hands of neocolonialism. We must be able to figure out, how do we redistribute land so that people are landless and poor in our countries and our land have it. They have health care and education free, and not something you have to pay fees to by the prescription, what they call the economic structural adjustment programs that are prescribed by the IMF and the World Bank. They're trying to figure out how to continue this. They don't give a damn about Ruto. They are the puppeteers, and we must not be confused to think it is just them supporting a Ruto. They're supporting neocolonialism. And they want to figure out how they're going to continue that. They're slick, and we have to be slicker. We have to figure out what kind of system, a system that is antithetical to capitalism and imperialism, and be ready. No compromise, no retreat.
No compromise, no retreat.
All right, asante sana. So you can see we're getting.
Are you guys sure that ni IMF Zakayo